Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in, Casperr here and welcome back to Best Loadouts. I hope it's been worth the wait. Today we're discussing the best loadout for everyone's favourite drunk Scottish Cyclops, the Demoman. And remember, the purpose of this series is to suggest an optimum generalist loadout. The loadout that's the best chance of success in the widest variety of situations. In the primary slot, we've got the default grenade launcher. As a Demoman, one of your key strengths and responsibilities is against engineer sentry nests. Whilst the lock and load does objectively more damage against engineers and their buildings, there's one key difference between using the grenade launcher and the lock and load, and that's that the grenade launcher does not need line of sight. And if you don't have line of sight of a sentry gun, well, it doesn't have line of sight of you. In other words, the grenade launcher lets you shoot targets that you can't currently see, be it through bouncing your grenades off walls or ceilings, shooting them somewhere and allowing them to roll towards your target, or even just taking advantage of the general arc of their flight path. And of course, the grenade launcher can still hit targets directly for huge damage, so you don't have to rely on the aforementioned out of line of sight opportunities. And of course, this doesn't just apply to sentry guns and other buildings, it also lets you hit people that you can't see. So the default grenade launcher is your friend due to its allowance to still do damage with indirect shots that the lock and load does not offer. And what about the Iron Bomber? Well, the Iron Bomber stat sits somewhere in between the two guns that we've just talked about already, and unfortunately the end result is a gun which lacks the strength of the lock and load and lacks the flexibility of the grenade launcher. It's not total trash, but if you're looking for an all-around option, pick the grenade launcher. Of course, we've also got the wee booties, the base jumper and the loose cannon. All of these are more niche items, and whilst I wouldn't recommend any of them for a good all-around loadout, you might see a couple of them later on in this video when we do a couple of quickfire specialist loadouts. In the secondary slot, we've got the sticky bomb launcher. Demo's secondary options basically boil down to sticky bomb launcher or quickie bomb launcher. Of course, there are the shields, and again, we'll talk about them later. Whilst the quickie bomb launcher does offer reasonable stats, it ultimately fulfills a similar role to the grenade launcher, and without the luxury of being able to roll or bounce your projectiles. Depending on your skill with Demoman, you can even use the sticky launcher in this aforementioned role, rhythmically pre-aiming and detonating near enemies' feet. But of course, the key use of stickies is their namesake. They stick to stuff. You can use this primarily to set traps in places you know enemies will be walking. Spawn doors, the payload, capture points, etc. 2 or 3 well-placed stickies are a guaranteed kill on almost every class. Just like the grenade launcher, stickies are also a really useful tool to utilize against engineers and their nests. The grenade launcher does allow you to bounce or roll your grenades at an unseen sentry, but the sticky launcher can allow you to place multiple stickies into an engineer's nest and blow them up all at once, therefore denying the engineer a chance to heal himself or his buildings in the meantime. And of course, we can't forget the fine art of sticky jumping. Place a sticky or 2 on the floor, jump in front of it, and it will explode to propel yourself into the air. The second saved rolling out from spawn with a series of sticky jumps can be the difference between your team winning and losing the next fight. Or a sticky jump can be used to surprise an enemy with an unexpected flank. Mastery of the sticky launcher will leave you practically unstoppable, but even just using it to cowardly camp corners will still be effective. As I've said many times before, there's a few main reasons to use your melee weapon in Team Fortress 2. 1, in an emergency situation because you've run out of primary or secondary ammo. 2, because your melee weapon's got some sort of utility value, such as the Pyro's Power Jack giving increased move speed. And 3, and this one is especially important to Demoman, is that your other weapons might not be effective at melee range. Of course, shooting your grenade or sticky launcher at an enemy in melee range not only will take a few seconds before that projectile explodes, but you're also going to do a hell of a lot of damage to yourself. So let's take a quick look at all of Demoman's melee weapons. The Scotsman Skullcutter, the Eyelander, the Claymore, the Persian Persuader and the Ulapul Cable all have slower deploy times, which aren't going to help us in an emergency situation. And not to mention, all of these have got nasty negative attributes like reduced health or movement speed, and these effects are in effect all the time, not just when you've got the weapon out. And really, that just seems excessive to me for a weapon that we plan to only really use in emergency situations. So that leaves us with one more option to complete our recommended Demoman loadout. The bottle. The best Demoman loadout for the best variety of situations, in my opinion, is a completely default one. Ideally, as a Demoman, you want to engage in battles at close to mid-range, and you find yourself rarely even needing to use your melee weapon. You may have noticed in this gameplay that I'm rarely, if ever, pulling my bottle out. Being that because I am consciously trying to take fights at a comfortable range for my primary or secondary weapons, or whether because in close fights my automatic reaction is to try and blow myself up along with the enemy, the fact remains that none of Demo's other melee weapons are worth the negative effects that they apply, at least when it comes to the frequency that we're planning to use them. But we're not done just yet. Demoman is the class in TF2 with the most extreme variation in weapon options, allowing you to transform your character into a whole new subclass known as the Demoknight. Equip the Alibaba's wee booties or bootlegger, a shield of choice and a melee weapon, and you can zip around the map like a pinball, doing close range damage to anyone unfortunate enough to stand in your way. For my recommended Demoknight loadout, use either the wee booties or the bootlegger, they're the same stats, and I recommend the Tide Turner and the Persian Persuader. The Tide Turner gives you 100% control whilst charging, and whilst slowing down when enemies hit you can be pretty annoying and ruin your charge from time to time, the 100% movement control is just invaluable in my humble opinion. And because we're not using any weapons that require ammo, the Persian Persuader has no real downsides other than no crits. But the goal of this particular Demoknight loadout is to always be charging. The booties plus the Tide Turner mean we get 100% charge back when we kill, plus 20% charge on every melee hit which isn't a kill, plus charge from ammo kits that we happen to pick up. Of course there are plenty of other powerful Demoknight options, but this one is my personal recommendation. So there we have it. The best Demoman loadout that will cover you in the widest range of situations is default primary, default secondary, and default melee. Of course, if you find something you prefer to use, then go ahead and use that. As long as you're having fun, you're doing it right. Don't forget to subscribe to see when I upload the next video in this series, and of course see all the other wonderful stuff that I do too. And check out my other videos on screen right now, including the playlist of all the other best loadout episodes that I've done. Thanks everyone, and goodbye.
Someone told me that I'm special.